Buenos días, buenas noches, buenas tardes, dependiendo de dónde me estén viendo y a qué horas me estén viendo. Bienvenidos otra vez a un episodio más. Mayra Castillo, asesora de educación superior, y este es mi podcast. Entre más aprendas, más ganarás. Ha comenzado a ser el lema de este podcast. Quiero que todo mundo aprenda muchas de las cosas que estoy aprendiendo yo, muchas cosas que ya sabía, que estoy compartiendo en el podcast, pero también muchas cosas que estoy aprendiendo de cada persona que estoy entrevistando. Ah, Cosas que quizás yo pensé que ya las sabía, pero que cada quien que ha venido a esta entrevista, a este podcast, me ha sorprendido con información nueva. Así es que para mí es un gusto tener siempre a un invitado nuevo. Y tengo que agradecer esta vez a que yo no tengo que buscar a
Hacer
las
esta
personas
vez.
que voy a entrevistar, sino que me llegan por referencia de alguien más. Estoy súper agradecida de que esta persona que voy a entrevistar el día de hoy fue por un referido de alguien que ya miró el podcast y que dijo, creo que esta persona que te recomiendo tiene mucho que platicar, mucho de lo que la juventud puede aprender. Así es que se los agradezco. Yo todavía tengo una lista de personas que quiero entrevistar, pero agradezco definitivamente a esas personas que ya están siguiendo el podcast, que ya se inscribieron, que le dan like a los videos, que los comparten con otras personas y que de estas, de este podcast y de estas personas que ya están viendo, salen personas nuevas. Así es que el día de hoy tengo de invitada a Samantha Tellez, que también es de nuestro ranchito de San Marcos Matujeo. Esta entrevista va a ser completamente en inglés. Quizás al final haga simplemente un poquito de información en español, pero lo vamos a hacer en inglés porque igual que Joana, Samantha tiene desde que nació aquí en Estados Unidos y se siente más cómoda hablando en inglés. Así es que I'm going to move over to English and I am going to let Samantha introduce herself. And we'll go from there. So, welcome, Samantha. I know a little bit about you, but really just a couple of things because I do follow you on LinkedIn, and I know that your mom worked with my mom. But other than that, I know very, very little. So, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know that based on information that I have seen just on LinkedIn, I know that you have an amazing story to share about yourself. And I know that this episode will definitely make an impact in our youth, not just in their education, but in civics, which is something that we'll talk about in a little bit. So tell us about yourself, where you're from, where you live, your family, just a little bit about your beginnings.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say thank you.
Uh-huh, go ahead. Mhm.
I was to say thank you so much for having me, for inviting me. This is really exciting. And my mom was really excited when I told her that I had the opportunity to do this. And she immediately was like, yes, you have to do this. Like, I feel like you have so much to share, which I would have said yes anyway, but it's always nice to have that extra push. So I'm really excited to be here. And I think what you're doing is great. And I wish I had something like this when I was applying to college and that sort of thing, just to have a little bit more information. But I'm glad that this is a resource that's out there for other people. So yeah, I can share my screen. I have a little slide. Let's see if I remember how to do
So
this.
in this episode, we decided that this would be the first one of hopefully many. I do want future presenters to show us a little bit about their lives, not just through what they tell us, but also what they share with us. So I asked you if you could put a little presentation, a little slide for us with some pictures of yourself, your family, your college experience, some of those things that I know you're probably really excited to kind of go back and dig through
Yeah,
and share those things with us. So I'm looking forward to this new experience as well. So tell us.
definitely. I just want to share. Can you see the first slide? Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So I'll move to
Mhm.
the next one then. I hope it switches. Let's see.
Right.
Did,
So
did
the
it
first
move?
one is your journey so far. Yeah, your journey
Okay.
so far. We're waiting for the next slide to come through.
Okay. I'm trying to click
I
it
know
again.
sometimes it's a little slow.
It's a little finicky. This is also my laptop from college, so it doesn't get a ton of use anymore. So I decided to bring it back out. Oop, now I moved. super, super far ahead. That's okay. It's a little
How
preview.
long, how many years have you been out of college now?
So I graduated from college in spring of 2023. So this spring it'll have been 3 years ago. So it's been
Right.
a bit, but it
Yeah,
feels like,
3 years.
yeah, it does feel like
Yeah,
just yesterday in a different way. Okay,
yeah.
now I think it's going back. I hope I didn't go back too far. Okay, sorry
One
about that.
more.
It has been a
Oh,
while since I've
yeah, yeah,
used slides. So I
yeah.
hope it goes back, but
It's okay. We get to see them twice, so it's all good.
yeah, it's true. Okay.
And it might be time for you to get a new computer after three
Yes,
years. So we're
definitely.
gonna have to work on
Oh yeah,
ask
I've
for
had
some
the
salary or something so that you can get
yes,
a new computer.
definitely a good investment. I've had this since I think since
Mhm.
freshman year, so it's been since 2019. So very, very long time, but
Yeah,
it's lasted that
yeah.
long. So I'm gonna see
Mhm.
if I can go
And
back
one more time back, just in case this one
one more.
is stuck and
Yeah,
you need to get back to one more. Hmm.
yeah. Again, I'm so sorry about that.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your childhood while we get there to the pictures
Yeah,
then.
yeah. And then if not, I think I also sent you the same slide, so it might be easier on your end, and I'm okay with doing that too, just in case
Okay.
it doesn't pan
Yeah.
out.
All
Um,
right. So let's switch it out.
okay.
So get out of your presentation and I will share it on my end.
Yes.
Technology, it works
Yes.
great when it does, and then it doesn't when
It's
it doesn't.
yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
I have it on my side.
Okay.
Let's show
Thank
it
you.
here. Yep. And then where is the view button on this one?
I
Here we
think
go.
in like the top right corner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay,
Oh, this is already much
here
better.
we go.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
so
here we
much
go. All
for
right.
doing that. I'm glad
Uh-huh.
I sent that in advance. So, like the slide says, I have been in Pennsylvania for my entire life up until a couple of months ago. I had been in the same county in Chester County my entire life. Now I'm in Lancaster County. But I've been in Pennsylvania my whole life, and I really love the area here. I am one of three girls. I'm the middle child, so I have an older sister and a younger sister, which I feel really lucky that I get to play both roles as a big sister and a little sister. And I grew up
Mhm.
in a Catholic bilingual household, like many immigrants, or children of immigrants, I should say. And when I was younger, I had dreams of being a firefighter. That is the first thing I remember ever wanting to be. And then my mom actually reminded me because I asked her if I ever told her what I thought I would do. And I had a dream of being a restaurant owner. And I do remember that my dream that I had envisioned was to have kind of like a food court style. So there was just a bunch of different countries and cultures represented. And then I picked a picture of my parents and I on my from when I graduated college, and then a picture of my entire family, including our dog, me when I
Mhm.
was little, and then the top right corner is a
Mhm.
picture of from Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving. My family has a tradition of Thanksgiving morning. We all get up very early and we go to our church and we put together meals for people who don't have someone to spend the holidays with. And it's something that we've been doing for a couple of years now, and it's really meaningful to us. Um, as our families are growing, we never really know exactly what we're doing for Thanksgiving, but I know that we can always count on that. And um, I definitely have my parents to look up to as an example of service and being very service minded and thinking of others. So I'm very grateful for that because I think that's something that's very important to me. And I definitely got that from them.
That's awesome. Did you get to visit Mexico while you were little, while you were growing up as well?
I did. I got to go when I was in high school, and I went with my sister,
Okay.
and that was a very, very cool experience. That was actually the first time I'd ever traveled internationally. I think that was actually the first time I was ever on a plane too, which was a lot of new experiences all at once. But I'm very glad that I got that experience.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so when you say you grew up in a bilingual home, your parents still speak to you in Spanish, to your sisters in Spanish, your other family members also speak Spanish. Okay.
Mhm.
And do you understand and speak Spanish, or is it mostly you understand and speak
It's a little bit of both. So at home, it's definitely more my parents will speak Spanish and we usually respond in English. But actually, through my work, I have to speak in Spanish every day. Um, so I
Hmm.
think professionally, I could definitely speak Spanish professionally better than I could conversationally, which is interesting. I almost
Yeah.
have like a little script in my head, and when someone veers off the script,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit lost. But it's definitely something that I've gotten better at through the years, because I think I lost it just over time. Once I was no longer living at home and I didn't really get a chance to practice it. It's definitely something, if you don't use it, you lose it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I am lucky
Yeah.
that I
No.
did get to grow up with that foundation, and it does come back quickly. So that's one of my goals for this year, is to get better at the conversational piece of it, because it is something that I'm glad that I grew up with, and I definitely don't want to lose it. And as you get older, it just gets harder to learn learn a
Yeah.
new language. So
Yeah. Yeah.
try to work
And
on
everyday word, yeah, everyday words that we don't use, they do disappear. And sometimes you're thinking of something and you can't say it in English or in Spanish,
that.
no matter how many years you've studied English or Spanish. So it is very
Yeah.
common after a while to speak to a language as it does become too difficult. You get
Yeah.
into what your work is and what the relationship is to work and the language that you use. So unless you
Mhm.
practice it on a regular basis, it does happen that you forget something inevitably. But I'm glad to
Mhm.
hear that you do still get to practice it. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is your early years. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about your middle school years, your high school years. It's interesting that you mentioned that you thought you wanted to be a firefighter. When I was growing up, one of the things I thought I wanted to be was a police officer. So we're not too far off. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us have different dreams of different things that we think we want to be when we grow up based on what we see around us.
Mhm.
Tell us how then you thought that maybe one day you wanted to go to college. How did you make that decision? But tell us in between a little bit about your experience in school as well.
Yeah. So where I went to school was, um, I didn't learn this until much later in life, that not all schools are like this, but it's very unique. I went to Octorara. So it's a K through 12 school district. So really the people that you start in kindergarten with, you're going to graduate high school with, and all of the
Mhm.
buildings are literally on the same road, which made it very
Mhm.
easy for my mom. If we ever like had to leave school early, we're all on the same road, which was really convenient. So I loved that experience. I was very close with all of my grade, and I loved that we got to be together from start to finish. And it was a smaller class. I think my graduating class was probably like 160, 170 students, and my high
Mhm.
school friends are still some of my closest friends. Um,
Mhm.
but I always loved school. My mom would tell you that I've always liked to talk a lot. And I have an August birthday. So I easily could have been held back another year, but she like really pushed me to go forward. And I had an older sister. So I was only one grade behind her, even though I'm 2 years younger than her in age. And I
Mhm.
honestly am very glad that she did that. I think that was one of the best decisions she could have made for me. Um, I think I've just always been a very social person. So for me, school was really just that. It was playtime. It was time to like be social, and I got to hang out with my friends. I always loved school. And I
Mhm.
think I've always really enjoyed learning. I've always been a very inquisitive person. To this day, like I ask my mom like a million questions a day. So I've always just loved learning, and everything was just so interesting to me. Um, and I remember like I really enjoyed like art classes and all like the specials. Like there really wasn't anything that I didn't enjoy.
Mhm.
And I think it was really nice being able to get to know like your entire grade. Like we had smaller classroom sizes.
Mhm.
And I had my older sister who was only one grade ahead of me. So oftentimes we would have had like the same teachers taking the same classes just a year before the other. So I definitely had her to rely on too if I ever needed help with anything. And we got to ride the bus together. So all that was
Mhm.
really nice. And then I knew well, I didn't know because I'm not a firefighter, but I was interested in being a firefighter because I just thought they looked really cool in their trucks. And
Mhm.
I loved the idea of being able to help people. And I think that's something that definitely stuck. And then when I was a little bit older and I thought I wanted to be a restaurant owner, I just always loved the idea of different cultures and how they can blend together. And I think that
Mhm.
definitely comes from growing up in a um, bilingual household and being one of the only Hispanic families or really any racial minority. My school was largely white. Most of
Mhm.
my classmates were white. Um,
Mhm.
so I think I was very aware of that, and I just didn't really know what that meant. But I was always very interested in different cultures. I loved going to school and learning about different cities and different countries and different languages. I always thought that was like the coolest thing. So I think that's
Mhm.
where that came from, and that also definitely stuck with me and inspired me to travel and see other places. And then I got very into like reading and writing in fifth and sixth grade. And I got
Mhm.
very into writing my own poetry. And I actually started a blog when I was in sixth grade um,
Mhm.
with poetry, like secretly. I didn't want anyone to know that it was me writing it. And um, somehow it went viral. I was like 12 years old and I had this like Instagram account with
Uh-huh.
a bunch of poetry on it. And eventually people found out it was me. So I had to come clean about that. But luckily, since it was on Instagram, people thought it was cool that I had a lot of followers.
Mhm.
And then I'm getting a little bit ahead, but in college, I ended up self publishing two books, which actually I don't think I put that in the slides here, but that was a big part of my life for a while. I am an author, self published. So that was
Mhm.
definitely like a creative outlet for me. And I still love reading and writing to this day. So I think I've always been very creative. I've always been told like my mind and like my mouth moves like a mile a minute. Like there's always a lot going on. And I think that was a great outlet for me to just get things
Uh-huh.
out there. And it's been really great to have that as like a healthy coping mechanism throughout my life.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think more. And then seventh and like middle school, high school, same thing. I was always very into reading and writing. And I'm glad that I had those creative outlets. And I have to say, like, I really had the best teachers to this day. I'm still in touch with many of my teachers. One of my teachers, I house sit for his family every summer when they go on vacation, and I watch their animals. I've
Mhm.
gone in together for like coffee with some of my old teachers. We're all still very close, and I'm very lucky that I had such wonderful teachers who really cared about um, me and my classmates as students, but also as people. So I think that really made all the difference. There's nothing like a good teacher, and I was very lucky to have my family and my parents and my teachers, and had so many positive role models as a young adult, and that's definitely helped form much of what my life looks like today.
I have a couple of questions for you before you veer
Oh,
off and keep
yeah,
going, but that's really great what you're talking about. So from what you said, two things. One thing I think is that you are in that generation that grew up and is growing up with technology, grew
yeah.
up with the Instagram and TikTok and a lot of the social media that the younger generations are used to. So
Mhm.
you're growing up with it, you're using it to your advantage. And I know that in your career later on that's something that continues to play a big role. So I'm glad that you took that risk and that you said, I'm going to write and I'm going to do it. And initially you're
Mhm.
like, it's a secret. I want people to really know who it is.
Yeah.
But I think if we go back in history, if we go back to like the 1800s, 1700s, even early 1900s, and we look at especially women writers, these were women writers who took a lot of risks in writing and writing
Mhm.
what they were not seeing around them and taking that risk to write with like a pseudonym or like an anonymous name because they didn't want to be discovered because they thought, well, this is wrong, why should I be writing this?
Mhm.
But when people find out, they're like, well, but you're an amazing writer, like I really think that you should come forward and publish your work. So I'm glad that people noticed that in you and that you were kind of ahead of the game and ahead of your time, which is really great to say for somebody as young as you to already have two books published. So congratulations. And I knew about one book. I think I might have known about the two books. I don't remember exactly because some things kind of are vague in my head too. But tell us a little bit about both of those books. You mentioned poetry. Were both of the books poetry? And what were like some of the themes in those books?
Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I've always been very into classic literature, and I somehow never made that connection of like having this like private like Instagram account where I don't want anyone to know it's me, and related that to how back then when it wasn't so acceptable for women to be open about their emotions and to have really any career outside of a home. So they
Mhm.
used fake names or they published under their husband's name. I never made that connection. So I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you did because I'm going to think about that for a while.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, they both were books of poetry. I think like a lot of teens, I just had a lot of emotions. I didn't really know where to put them.
Mhm.
But I also had someone who was very, very formative in my life. Her name is Joan, and I could talk about her forever, but
Mhm.
she's been a family friend for a very long time. And she's always been an avid lover of literature. And she really encouraged me to write and keep going. And she would email me and check in on me and just make sure I was still writing. Because I think she knew um,
Mhm.
what a great outlet that was for a young person. But both books were poetry. Um,
Mhm.
and just all like the teenage angsty feelings of like, you have a crush who maybe doesn't like you back. Like you have all these feelings, you just don't know what to do with them.
Mhm.
But I just learned to really love it. And I feel like I learned so much about myself through writing. And I can't tell you like how many times I would just like sit down with like a pen and paper, not know what I was feeling or what I was trying to say. And then I'd read it and be like, oh, I get it now. Like I can like work through this now. And I think
Mhm.
a big part of it was being able to share it online and seeing the reaction that other people had to it. Like I didn't know anyone else felt this way. So it was really, really comforting to know that maybe the feeling that I was getting when I would read other authors and their work was something that I was now able to provide other people. So that was really, really a cool feeling. So I published my first book um, a few weeks into my freshman year of college.
Mhm.
And then the second one came, I think, a year or two after that when I was 19. It was like during COVID summer. So I
Mhm.
really didn't have much else to do, but right. But they were self-published books of
Okay.
poetry. And I definitely don't think I could have done it any other way. I loved that I was able to self-publish. So everything from the font size to the cover, like everything was just mine. No one else got to like edit it or do anything, and I just got to publish it. And I'm really glad I got to do that because at the end of the day, it's my name on it. So I want it to be like a reflection of how I felt at the time. And it's honestly such a timepiece. I haven't read them in a very long time. And I think there's part of me that's like, I don't know if I want to go down that path right now, but
You're probably going to be critiquing yourself in a
yes,
different time, in a different way than what you
definitely.
did back then. But those were your thoughts back then. So you have
Yeah,
to leave it as it is. If you're going to
yes,
look at yourself in a different way now, you could write a whole different book and say, well, this is how I feel now. So,
yeah,
it's okay to
exactly.
change. It's
Yeah.
okay to change.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
really
Well,
glad that I had that for that time.
yeah. Well, we're gonna have to look up those books, and we're gonna have to put the
Yeah.
links so that if people are interested to get to know you and your thoughts back then, um,
Mhm.
we'll put the links with the podcast so that people have access to get to those books as well.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. So tell us about maybe your involvement. So reading, writing, you did while you were in high school. Any other things while you were in high school that really stick out to you as like leadership activities or any other involvement, any other things that then kind of got you into that path towards college?
Mhm. Yes, so I did track all throughout high school.
Hmm.
I really wasn't good at it, but it was again another chance to hang out with my friends, something fun to do after school, and you got to leave school early for meets. So I was sold. I was in it. I loved it. A lot of fun with that. And then I also was part of the National Honor Society and the National Spanish Honor Society. I also was involved with FBLA, which was the Future Business Leaders of America. And then my school had a program called Heroes, which was a program where you would vow to stay drug and alcohol free. And you would go to, I think it was once a month, we met with fourth graders to talk about what that meant and what that looked like for us. And really just to be like positive role models for the children then. And then I did yearbook club for, I think maybe my senior year. But I was always very
Hmm.
involved. I was just like, had a lot of fun doing these things, and I loved that. It just made going to school more fun, which I already thought it was fun, but it's just really fun to get to have extra time to do creative things and really, I always just love the idea of being a part of something like bigger than myself, especially with things like the yearbook. You get to like at the end physically see like what you've created. So that
Yeah.
was all really
That's
fun.
awesome. Oh, that's awesome. So you were like, okay, I don't want this to end. I'm definitely going to college because I want to
Yeah.
continue what I'm doing. Okay, that makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Definitely.
So what was
Yeah.
your college process like? Did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody that helped you? Did you do like the whole college tours? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah. I don't think I necessarily had a mentor. A lot of it I found just doing research on my own, but I was very lucky that I've always had like great friends who were very open about their process. So
Mhm.
we all kind of just went to each other for this. But I had great guidance counselors and great teachers who definitely knew more than I did at the time. So they helped me out with that.
Mhm.
But I remember when it came time to apply for schools, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go or what I even wanted to major in.
Mhm.
I think I applied to 16 different schools. I just applied to anywhere that didn't have a fee waiver. And I was like, well, why not?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in
Free.
Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
exactly.
free. The worst they
Yeah.
can say is no.
Yes. Especially in Pennsylvania, like we're so lucky. We have so many schools that
Yeah.
are in state, so like in-state tuition, like that was
Yeah.
also something that I had kept in mind. But I think at the time I thought I wanted to be like a business major or in accounting, which
Mhm.
didn't really pan out. But I don't think I approached it the way that I probably should have, as like, what do I want to do and what schools might be the best for that. I just applied to like anywhere that had didn't have a fee waiver and anywhere that I thought
Mhm.
was cool. So when it
Mhm.
came to like the end of it, I was between the University of Delaware and Westchester. And I did end up
Mhm.
choosing Westchester. The in-state tuition was huge.
Mhm.
The only thing that really was pulling me towards Delaware was I applied and I got accepted into their Global Scholars Program, which I don't know if they still have that, but I thought it was the
Mhm.
coolest thing in the world. But your first year and your first semester and a semester your junior year would be spent in another country,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
17 years old, nothing sounds cooler than that.
Mhm.
And I was very excited about that. But then the out of state
Mhm.
tuition was pretty steep. So I ended up going with Westchester. And I'm really glad that I did. It worked out. And I get to travel
Yeah.
on my own,
Yeah.
non school
Yeah.
related. But I was
Yeah.
those were my top two at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you ended up at Westchester. Did you live at Westchester all 4 years, or did you commute from home to Westchester? I know it's
I
relatively close to where you live. It's about 30 minutes from where I live.
Yeah, I did live in Westchester for
Mhm.
all 4 years, and I loved it so much. I just moved from Westchester in December, so I stayed there for a very long time, and I still work in the area. I love the
Mhm.
area. I
Mhm.
think I have a slide like that's just college related because
Yeah.
I don't want to forget anything.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful city. So
Yeah.
whether you live there or work there, it is a beautiful city to live.
Mhm.
I know that there is a big college community with the professors, with the people that work in Westchester, but just altogether, it is a beautiful college. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you apply with? Like, I know you said I wasn't sure what I wanted to study, what I wanted to major in initially, and we've talked about this in all of the episodes that you go in thinking you might want to study one thing, and then you like, kind of take different courses, and you're like, oh, this is really where I fit in more. So, what did you go in thinking that you wanted to study? What were like the majors that you put in your applications? And then how long did it take you to say, I think this is where I really like it, and this is where I'm going to, kind of go in that direction?
Yeah. Yeah. So for Westchester, I remember I applied with a business management major. And at the time, I was
Mhm.
hoping to do like a human resources minor, do something with that. And then, actually, no,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I applied with accounting and I got accepted with accounting. And then I switched to business management before I even started. Um, I
Mhm.
just knew that deep down that wasn't really something I wanted to do. But at the time, I was
Mhm.
taking an accounting course in high school and I was good at
Mhm.
it. And I saw how much
Mhm.
money that they can make. And I was like, well, this sounds
Mhm.
cool. And then I realized I
Mhm.
don't like this. I'm just like kind of good at it at a high school level. So I can't imagine I
Gonna
would
happen.
learn to like this
Yeah.
more as it got harder in college. So then I switched to
Uh-huh.
management and then
Mhm.
I got to college and I think I was a semester in with business management and I was taking a few economics courses and I would like cry before I would go into these classes. Like I really didn't like it. I
I want to
felt like I was
do.
yeah, like I felt like I was good at it. Like I'm just not enjoying this. This doesn't excite me. And I've always loved school. Like I've always enjoyed my classes and I loved learning, but this just wasn't something that was bringing me joy. And it was a little bit dramatic to say I was crying every day, but close. And
Yeah,
then,
but sometimes that really is the only way that you're going to learn, like
yeah.
experiencing something and really feeling that, like, like
Mhm.
kind of a little bit of happiness, a little bit of joy, like no joy
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like you have to live that and experience that in order to be like, this is definitely not for me, but there has to be something because I know I
Yeah.
enjoyed school, so
Yeah.
there has to be something that I continue to enjoy.
Mhm.
So the tea is not always good, but you have a little cleansing in there in the
Yeah.
process. So, it's okay. I wish it hadn't been that way, but it
Yeah.
happened, and then
Oh
yeah,
no.
it
It's
was a bad way of finding out.
yeah. It had to happen.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because then
Hmm.
I was taking a GIS class, which I wish I think it was like Geographical Information Systems. It was like a gen ed that I needed, and it hit a lot of the classes I needed. So I was taking that and I actually was really enjoying that. And this is spring of 2020. So this is as COVID's beginning. So it's really just like tracking
Yeah.
information and maps. And I thought it was the coolest thing that you could see all this in real time. And I really was enjoying
Hmm.
that class. So for a while, I was thinking about just switching to geography and planning. And I went to my professor's office hours, and it's a recurring theme, but I just cried like in his office. And I was like, I really just don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't think I'm enjoying my major. Like, I kind of like this class, but I don't know if I want to switch. This will be my third major in my first year. Like, I don't really know what I want to do. And I remember he just asked me what kind of impact I want to have on the world. And I don't remember what I said. It probably wasn't anything smart or profound, but I just remember that question really stuck with me. So then I was looking through an entire list of majors and honestly just crossing them out like, no, this maybe, this maybe. And what I did that
Hmm.
I'm really glad that I did was I looked at a couple of majors that I thought I could enjoy, and I looked at their course catalog, and I looked
Hmm.
at public health because I was like, that sounds cool. I don't know what that means, but we're going to find out. And their course catalog was just so
Hmm.
interesting. Like the classes you could take were like population health, body politics, human sexuality, love and marriage, drugs and society. And I was like, just the sound of this, of like all these classes sound like something I would take like as an elective, like just for fun. So I made
Hmm.
the switch. And then a week later, we got sent home because of COVID. And we were in like the biggest public health crisis of my lifetime.
Hmm.
So it was a very
Hmm.
timely
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
was just reinstated like over and over again. Like, and then the next 2 years were just online classes, but it was just reinstated. Like, this is, we need more people working in public health. Like, this is exactly where you need to be. So it felt like, even though that was a very unfortunate thing, it felt very timely, very needed. And I truly can say I loved every single class that I took in public health. And it was not what I expected. I honestly, my biggest fear was that it would be like a super sciencey, like STEM heavy major. And I think
Hmm.
at some schools it is, but at Westchester it wasn't. It was much more like social sciencey. And what I really loved was that at in all my classes, no matter what class it was so human centered. And it always came back to like, who is this affecting? Who is this impacting? And how can we help? And I
Hmm.
truly fell in love with public health, like as a field of study, as a program, as a degree. And it was the best decision I ever made was to switch. And third time's a charm. It was my third major, and I'm glad that I stuck with that one.
And again, I talked about this in every single episode. It's okay to go in undecided, clear,
Mhm.
not sure what I want to study. Everybody, the first year, the second year, you're still kind of experimenting with different classes because at 17, 18, 19, like who really knows what they're going to do the rest of their lives? Nobody does. You really kind of have to do that thing that you did where you sit down and you say, I don't like this. I kind of like this. I don't like this. I kind of like this, and you go through
Yeah.
the pros and cons and you go through the list, and you sometimes have to do it alone, sometimes you have to do it with a friend, sometimes you have to do it with a professor, and especially
Mhm.
in cases where you have questions and you're like, well, what does this mean, like what kind of a
Mhm.
career is that going to lead me into? It's okay, and especially the first year in college because it's so different from high school. Just college alone, the whole college experience alone, the first year is a big
Mhm.
shock. So again, it's okay. And I'm glad that you're talking about how difficult it was and that you cried tears
Mhm.
because I'm sure you were not the only one who has
Yeah.
cried tears their first
Yeah.
year second year, third year, sometimes fourth year. I
Yeah.
know there were tears that I cried every single year of college, but
Mhm.
I don't regret it. There were big
Yeah.
decisions sometimes that needed to be made, and so sometimes it was difficult. But you cry it out, you let it all out, and then you go drink some water, and then you're like, all right, I gotta get moving, I gotta get going
Exactly.
because time
Yes.
doesn't stop, and it's not gonna stop and wait for me, and I have to
Mhm.
make a decision, and I have to be okay with this decision. But you always have to go towards what brings you joy. What do you really like? And then you'll figure things out later. You talked earlier about running track and how maybe you weren't the greatest at it, but it brought you joy. You
Yeah.
felt like, like that was the place where you belonged because you did something that you liked. Okay, so
Mhm.
maybe it wasn't the best, but it was something that brought you joy. And I always tell people, do that, do what you find joy in. Okay, so accounting, finance, maybe, that you can make a lot of money, but you're going to be miserable making a lot of money. Like, do you really want to do that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And compared to maybe, yeah, I'll go into public health and maybe I won't make as much money, but I'm going to be doing something that's going to bring me joy and I'm going to be helping people. Accountants, business people, they get to help people too. But again, it's
Mhm.
not about the money. It's what really makes you happy for who you are, what you're doing, and what you're doing to help
Yeah.
others. Oh, well, that's
Exactly.
awesome. I'm glad that, again, it's not the best way to go about it. Cry tears, go through those really tough experiences. But I'm
Yeah.
glad that you mentioned it. College is not always happy. It's not
Mhm.
always great. I did ask for you to bring some pictures so that you could share some of these great things that you did go through. But again, I'm so glad that you talked about those tears.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
tell us a little bit about then your friendships that you made along the
Yeah.
way and what other things that you did aside from going to classes, doing your homework, writing your papers, and all of those things that you needed to do.
Yeah. My girls are my lifeline. And I really mean that. Like I growing up with all girls, like all sisters, and then I joined a sorority in college, and then I had the best roommates in college. I've only ever lived with women. Well, I had a long term boyfriend and we lived together, but it's not the same. Like I even in that I was like I miss living with girls. I miss borrowing clothes and like just being able to talk and hang out every day. But I've always been so lucky to have been surrounded by the strongest, most powerful women. Um, and some of these are friends that I made in college. Some of these are friends that I made in high school. But really, I don't know where I would be without my female friendships. There's no replacing them. And it's just so amazing to be that I can truly say, like, I am so inspired by my female friendships. I think they are all the coolest people ever. And it's just really fun to be at this age. I'm 24 now, to be able to grow through life together. My one friend in the bottom
Mhm.
left corner, she's getting married in April, and we're all going to be bridesmaids in her wedding, and I'm just so excited about that. So yeah,
Mhm.
my female friendships, all friendships, but especially my female friendships, have been like the most constant thing in my life, and I'm very, very grateful for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Glad to see
Mhm.
this. I've already said it, and I'm going to actually be visiting my friends from college this Saturday to celebrate Valentine's Day. It's been
That's
over
so
20
exciting.
years, and we don't want to accept the fact that it's been over 20 years that we
Yeah.
graduated from college. It was the same for us. I ended up going to an all women's college, so obviously I have only female friends for the
Yeah.
most part. But you're absolutely right. I'm married. I have kids. I have a family. But the friendship that I formed with these women that have been through thick and thin. My best friend is from college. My best friends are from college. And we talk to each other about everything, all of the struggles that we have through
Yeah.
careers, through marriages, divorces, children, parents, all kinds of things. One of the things that I always enjoyed while I worked in colleges and universities was seeing how kids came into college and universities and how they found themselves through
Yeah.
their college experiences and how they made those friendships that would last a lifetime. People who find their partners in college, who make those bonds in college that really, they really grow with you. So I'm so glad that you were able to find that through your college. We go into college definitely thinking we're going to get a career, we're going to get a job, but it's those extra friendships that you build. That sometimes for those of us, especially that are Hispanic, we have our family at home, and that's one thing. But to us, also find friendships. We get to talk to our friends about some of the things that we can't necessarily always talk about at home because it's two totally different experiences. So having friends that go through some of these things with you that you can fall back on to talk to, it's really a great experience. So I'm glad that you're also sharing this part with those of us that are listening and for our future generations of students who maybe are not sure what they want to do. But you don't have to necessarily know. You'll grow in the process. You'll get to know yourself and you'll get to know
Mhm.
other wonderful people who are going to cheer you on as well. Awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about some of these pictures. What do they mean? What are they for? What was all this?
Yeah. So I had so much fun putting this together because some of these pictures I hadn't seen in a while, and I was like, "Oh, this is." I remember her. She had fun. um,
Uh-huh.
so I so one thing I got very involved with early on was I joined a sorority my freshman year at Westchester. I was in Alpha Delta Pi sorority, which is a Panhellenic sorority. And I had so much fun with that. It gave me a lot of great leadership opportunities. And I always knew that I wanted to join a sorority. There's something that I would definitely try to do. Again, I've always just loved like my female friendships and being in like a big girl group.
Mhm.
And it was just fun. Like we got to wear matching t-shirts and we got to plan date parties, but we also had a philanthropy aspect and a service aspect to it, which I was very grateful for. We had a required amount of community service hours and we got to do that individually as a group. And then we also were partnered with Ronald McDonald Charity House. So we got to fundraise for them throughout the year. So I love that it was like a lot of, playtime, we get to have fun and hang out, but we also had a service aspect to it and a lot of leadership opportunities. And I was very proud that my sorority consistently had the highest GPA on campus. And they were very strict about that. Like you can't go to any of like our date parties, any of our events, or stuff like that, unless your grades are also on point, which I appreciated. That definitely kept me on
Mhm.
track.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's an unfortunate aspect of Greek life, but there is statistically higher cases of sexual assault and violence in Greek life, especially between
Mhm.
sorority women and fraternity men. So
Mhm.
we had a really terrible incident affect our campus community my senior year. And since I was in a leadership position on the Panhellenic Council, which is a board that oversees all of the active sororities, we decided that we were no longer going to host events with fraternities on campus until they made their community safer for us women to attend. And we
Mhm.
organized marches against sexual assault. And I remember it was like one of the proudest moments of my life to see 300 women come together, march through campus, and we ended up winning an award later that year for like organization program of the year. And it's something that really does hit home for me. It means so much to me to be able to advocate for against that alongside women who have maybe experienced that in their lives or whether or not they haven't. I feel like, unfortunately, most women, especially in that age group, if it's not them, they know someone who has experienced that. So to be able to come together and just show like that there's power in numbers and it's so powerful to speak up and be a part of something that you believe in and be a part of the solution. And even though we're all just, 18, 22-year-old women,
Mhm.
they're your voice is powerful, your voice matters. And I really appreciate how supportive Westchester was as an institution. They gave us all their resources. They blocked the streets for us. They had like campus security there for us to like walk us through everything. They really were so supportive and it was honestly really inspiring, like from start to finish, having to plan an event like that, but also have to like really consider like this is such a big topic. Like, are we taking this seriously enough? How are we making sure that our members are safe? Because at this point, like all of our leadership team, we were all seniors. We knew that we were graduating, but it was a big question of how are we going to leave this? How are we going to leave this better than we found it? How are we going to protect our youngest members? So that was something that I got very involved in. And it's something that always stuck with me. I think activism and advocacy is always something that's been really important to me, but I've never been in a position where I was physically marching or organizing anything like that. So it was very, um, it's one of the like the highlights of my college career, being able to say that I played a part in that, and that as like fun and like as many parties as I went to, this is what I'm going to remember. Like sticking up for something that I believe in, even though it was at the time maybe not like the cool thing to do, but getting a group of women together um, is one of the proudest moments of my life. And I'm so glad to say that like those were
Yeah.
me and my friends, and that's something that we stood for. We really stood our ground on. Um, but yeah, I
Awesome.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed my college experience, and I'm glad that like um, there's just like a good blend of stuff. Like there's a lot of fun stuff, there's a lot of serious stuff, but it all was very impactful, very very important. It's just really nice when you can see like something that you personally believe in is also something that people around you believe in, and there's just so much power in numbers. And
Yeah.
again, it's like a recurring theme in my life: strong, powerful woman getting stuff done.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. I know that
Mhm.
sororities and fraternities don't always have the best reputation, as you mentioned. And I do remember a few years back, you might have still been in college when a young man was killed in a fraternity in Philadelphia
Yeah.
while he was, doing whatever it is that they need to get to become part of the fraternity. So I know that we're still in a learning curve with a lot of different things, and as people make mistakes, I'm glad that people are learning how to make things better and to learn from those mistakes and to learn from those experiences. So I'm glad that you're talking about it, because it is something that sometimes parents, especially in our community, that is very
Mhm.
guarded, and we want to make sure that our girls are safe when they go to college, that they're making the best experience for themselves, that they go and get educated. But, we don't want anybody to be abused. We don't want anybody to come home and then not want to go to college, back to school,
Yeah.
because of bad things that are happening. So I'm glad that you're talking about this and the positive impact that you made, and that hopefully will continue to leave a lasting impact, not just at Westchester, but through other colleges and universities throughout the nation as well. We're
Mhm.
definitely going through a difficult time in this country, but having people like you in this episode talk about, sure, there were some mistakes that were made and bad things happened, but believe it or not, yes, in your 20s, you're very smart. In your 25s, you're very smart and you can see through things. And if things make you uncomfortable, that should be enough to say enough is enough, and we shouldn't
Yeah.
have to take it and to accept it. So thanks for bringing this also to the forefront and to the attention. So happy
Mhm.
for you that you have that sisterhood. Fraternities, sororities, one of the things that I do know from my own college experience, even though I was not part of it, is that these become the people, the other family that can help you to get a job, to get into a career. It's a
Mhm.
great networking experience. Um, like you said, yes, you have fun, you go to parties, but there is requirements, just like when you play a
Yeah.
sport. There should be requirements that are academic first, and then, these sorts of activities next. And so I'm glad that they have GPA requirements, that they have volunteer service requirements.
Mhm.
Those are the things that you have to show for. You have to show that, yes, you can be part of these leadership activities, but you have to be responsible as well. So thank you again for sharing all of these things. So I know a lot of
Mhm.
this is leading into your future career. So you
Yeah.
did do at least one internship. Tell us about your internships. So I'm glad. I know Westchester is really well known for their internships, because I had another student that I helped, and I know that she did two internships while she was at Westchester. So tell us
Yeah.
about these internships experiences and how they went through with your career, with your degree at Westchester.
Yeah. So for my major for public health, our last semester is largely an internship. I think I took one or two other classes, but really it was my last semester was for my internship. So I had my internship with the Maternal and Child Health Consortium of Chester County in the spring semester of 2023. And as part of my major, I also had to develop a project and kind of like it was like the overarching theme of my internship was to work on this project that I would later present for a grade. And it really was like my final grade. So
Mhm.
I did a lot of research alongside my professors and the staff at the Maternal and Child Health Consortium. And I developed an initiative to increase the number of Black breastfeeding women in Chester County with their senior project coordinators. And I also did a fundraiser. I raised $750 for breastfeeding supplies to give to them, which was a really rewarding experience. Because I remember I'd learned in one of my classes that statistically Black women are, well, we have a maternal health crisis in our country, which is a much bigger topic, but especially with Black women, they are dying at, I believe, 6 times the rate of white women in this country, which is just, for a developed nation, this is completely unacceptable. But I also learned that with breastfeeding, they are much more likely to be pushed to use formula. Like, a lot of hospitals won't even teach Black women to breastfeed. They won't encourage it. They'll just push formula onto them um, for a number of, systemic
Mm-hmm.
reasons. But that's something that I became very passionate about. So I'm glad that I was able to put a personal passion behind something that is research backed with such an incredible organization. Um, and at my internship, I got to learn a lot about, it's a nonprofit organization. So I got to learn a lot about how nonprofit organizations work alongside local government and state government and government at the federal level, whether it's through funding or with getting legislation passed. I learned a lot about how politics, policy, and public health really overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet U.S. Representative Chrissy Houlihan, who is she's my congresswoman where I live, and she's been like someone that I've long looked up to. She is the first woman to represent our congressional district, and I think she's just so cool. And I love everything she stands for. So she, on this day, she met with MCHC staff, and I had no idea she was coming. And where I sat at my internship, I was right next to the door. So I saw her, and I just went up to her and I go, "I'm just such a big fan of you." And I got to like meet her and take a picture with her, and she was very lovely. But I'm very grateful for my internship. It was my first like professional experience, and I feel like I learned a lot from it. Whether it was as small as like learning like how to dress for like an office every day, how to like write a professional email. But I'm still in touch with a lot of the staff from this organization. I have the chance now to serve on their advisory board, so I'm still very involved with this organization. It's very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, this is how I fell in love with nonprofits, and I learned how much they overlap with local government, which I'm very interested in that intersection, because like politics and public health are like my two passion areas, and luckily they overlap a lot, so I never feel like I have to choose.
Yeah, and I'm familiar, very familiar with MCHC.
Yeah.
In the Hispanic community in this area, they used to be what people used to call las madrinas, the
Mhm.
godmother. So that's how the program started. So I know I have family members who participated in the madrinas program way back in the day when they had first started, and how much they helped the Hispanic community in our area, new migrant families, new migrant parents, to make sure that women receive the services that they need in order to be able to be better parents. So it's not just for mothers; they also have some parents or programs for fathers as well. It
Mhm.
is a great organization. I'm glad that I have some people in the community that I still connect to as well, and some people in MCHC. They really are an awesome, awesome program here in Southern Chester County. And I think I probably have met Representative Christy Houlihan once or twice
Mhm.
while she's been around with some of our programs with Casa Guanajuato in Kennett
Mhm.
Square during the Memorial Day Parade. And she is a wonderful person. I know that she's
Yeah.
really standing a lot for our Hispanic community these days. And
Mhm.
so I'm glad that you get to know her too. She
She's
really is an
wonderful.
amazing person.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you had the opportunity to travel.
Yes. Oh, I was so happy to put this together. It was so much fun. Um, but yeah, I recently, in last October in the fall, I went to London, Paris, and Versailles, and it was my first time in Europe, and definitely won't be my last. I had such an incredible time there. And I mentioned a bit earlier that I also got the chance to go to Mexico when I was in high school. And recently, I've done a lot of just like shorter weekend trips, just traveling within the US. So I was in Atlanta this past weekend for a very short trip. I was there for like 30 hours, but that's where the middle picture is from, their
Mhm.
aquarium, which I learned is the biggest aquarium in the Western Hemisphere. So that was really cool. So I've done
Mhm.
a lot of like um, long weekend trips. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think I'm really lucky to live on the East Coast, being so close to like a major airport. It's really easy to get to a lot of places. And all these places I've actually taken the train to or I drove to. So there's so many cool places, and I'm really lucky that I've had the opportunity to travel a bunch. And then I actually have a trip planned to Puerto Rico in next month. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going with my sister, and then I'm planning a solo trip to Boston. One of my big goals is to do like a lot more solo traveling, and I would love to do an international trip by myself, but I'm going to start small and go to a US city first, and
Uh-huh.
then we'll get there. But
Yeah.
something that I'm very passionate about, and I recognize what a privilege it is to be able to travel for pleasure, not out of necessity. I think it goes back to being being raised in a bilingual household and having so many different cultures around me. It's just always been something that's interested me. And I'm very, very lucky that I have the opportunity to do so. And I just keep telling myself for as long as I don't have kids, I'm not responsible for anyone else just yet. I'm going to do as
Yeah.
much of this as I can.
Yes, yes, yes. Aprovechalo, as we would say. Did
Yeah.
you get to travel while you were in college?
In college, no. And it's the biggest regret of my entire life is not doing a study abroad program. I will say I was in college from 2019 to 2023. So a lot of
Through the
that wasn't,
pandemic.
yes. So a lot of it wasn't
Yeah.
an opportunity, but still, I really wish that I would have done that more in college because I did have friends who studied abroad
Mhm.
um, at other schools, and I honestly just did not have enough money to go visit them. And that's something I also kick myself for. Like I could have figured it out. I would have had a place to stay there, but I'm making up for it now. I
Yeah.
My goal for this year is to go somewhere new every month, and it's only February, but I've stuck to that so far. And but yeah, I really just want to take advantage of being young, having some flexibility. I did move back home after I moved out of Westchester in December, so now that I'm not paying an arm and
Hmm.
a leg for rent, I have some extra money. So
Yeah.
I'm really not saving it. I'm using that to travel, but it's well
You
spent.
only get to you only get to live once, so take
Yeah,
advantage of it.
yeah,
I can tell you the farthest I have been to it was India, and I did it by myself. It was a scary experience, but I have so many stories to tell from just being there for
yeah,
2 weeks. So if I could do it, you can do it. But like you said, take it slowly, take it based on whatever you feel more comfortable with. But I know it's
yeah,
possible because I did it, so I know that you can do it. But
yeah,
I'm glad that you are able to travel. It really does give you a whole world perspective. You get to compare, what it's like to live in Europe, what it's like to travel in Europe as a tourist, what it's like to live in the US, and what it's like to travel here within the US. You learn so much about culture, history from traveling. So traveling is more than just having fun. You really do get to
yeah.
learn about the history, the local history. And
Mhm.
that gives you a whole nother perspective. So I'm glad that you are able to do that. Beautiful pictures. I still have um, uh, dreams because I do want to go back to Paris. Paris, the Eiffel Tower, the reason why I studied French. I still have dreams of going to France and like missing and not being able to see the Eiffel Tower because I miss it that much. Like even in my dreams, I don't get to see it and I miss it so
Yeah.
much. So I'm
Oh
hoping
yeah.
that soon I'll be able to go back with my family to Paris, France, and one day to hopefully go with my husband to see the Taj Mahal together. An
Yeah.
amazing experience. So I'm glad that you get to live it. Enjoy
Oh,
it. You only get to live
thank
once. So
you. Thank
please do
you.
continue to travel. I'd love to see these
Yeah.
pictures.
Thank you.
So, all right. So tell us about what you're doing now.
Yes. So I have been getting very involved in politics. I study public health, so it's not something that I necessarily thought I would do, and I am so lucky that I've always just had people who put my name out there and think enough of me to recommend me for um, these positions. But in 2023, right before I graduated, I was appointed to Governor Shapiro's Advisory Commission on Next Generation Engagement, which was the first time this commission had existed. So I was in like the founding class, one of the first members of it. And in full transparency, I had a friend from college who was an intern for his office who became the executive director. So it was definitely just like someone that I knew who was involved in this, because I had no political experience, but I'm very
I
lucky that
always
she thought
say
enough of me.
I always say it's not just about what you know, it's also about who you know, because it's those
Absolutely.
people that will give you that recommendation that you need to land that next job.
Yeah.
So that networking, that being part of a sorority, and just taking those risks of saying, I'm interested in this, let me see what it's like. You don't know what you're going to do until you get there and you do it. That's how
Exactly.
everything is.
Yeah.
So, people take a leap of faith in you and you take a leap
Mhm.
of faith in yourself, and that's how you
Yeah.
do it. Uh-huh.
Exactly. I was very lucky with to have met her and to have been lucky enough to connect with her like as a friend and then later professionally.
Mhm.
And another thing that I learned about that later on was that during that time I was making TikToks for fun and just got very lucky that some of them took off.
Mhm.
And they had let me know later that that was one of the reasons that they were interested was because I had such a young, engaged female audience. And I wasn't doing that to hope to get involved politically. It was just, this is fun for me. This is like a fun hobby. So I don't know if
Again,
anyone,
something you enjoy doing. So, hey.
exactly, which made me really happy to hear because
Uh-huh.
I'm all for that. Like doing things that you enjoy just because it brings you pleasure and the right opportunities will align if it's meant to be.
Right.
Um, which led to in 2024, I joined the Harris Walls campaign as a content creator. I did this in like a freelance capacity. It wasn't a paid position. But it really was the honor of my life. I got to meet Governor Tim Walz, Representative AOC, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. These were all from that fall of my, and it was literally the best time of my life.
It follows through from like your high school years to your college years to now. A lot of us who really are here because we want to help others, we do
Mhm.
a lot of things unpaid because we know that the experience eventually will pay off. So kudos for you that you're like, yeah, I'll do this even if they don't pay me for it.
Oh yeah, and I honestly would have paid them. It was the coolest experience of my life. I got so much out of it. I got to network with so many people. Like it really, I always forget that that wasn't like a paid position. It wasn't a job. It was just something I did for fun. And I truly got so much out of it.
Mhm.
And then I think that came first. And then I became a member of Senator Casey's reelection coalition. It was Latinos con Casey, which was really cool. I, I honestly don't know why they chose me, but they said that they were just looking for like inspiring, impactful people
Mhm.
that identify as Latino in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Um, so that was I was got to be a part of that, and it was different lawmakers, different legislators, representatives in Pennsylvania. And while he unfortunately didn't win his reelection campaign, it was still very cool to be a part of and get to meet a lot of people in that coalition. And then in 2025, this past summer, I was appointed to be, well, I was reappointed as a commissioner for Governor Shapiro's Advisory Commission on Next Generation Engagement. He also appointed me as the chair of the commission, which was really exciting. It's been such an honor to serve in that capacity. And then in this year, I am continuing content creation for a number of reelection campaigns, some of which have not been announced yet. So I can't say too much yet, but I'm still going to be continuing with TikTok, and I'm definitely trying to get um, back into it since I kind of didn't do as much content creation after the 2024 election. But these midterm elections are very important to me, so I definitely want to be involved. I am creating content for Governor Shapiro's reelection campaign, which started last month, but I am also going to be involved with a few congressional races, which I'm really excited about. Because I love doing TikTok for fun, but I also do think when you have a platform, which I'm lucky to have 40,000 or so followers, I do think you have a big responsibility when you have people who are listening to what you say. And
Mhm.
especially living in Pennsylvania, which is such a purple battleground state, I think it's really important to keep people engaged. And I'm very lucky that a lot of the people that follow me are younger. So I'm hoping that I can inspire them to vote, to stay educated. And, social media can be fun. And I use it for recipes sometimes, but there's also like, you never know who you're going to catch. And I've seen things that I've learned so much just from being on social media, from scrolling, learning about there's this bill that's going to pass. You should call your representatives about this. So I am hoping that I can inspire people to vote and to vote in all elections, not just in the presidential election. So that's what
Yeah.
this is turned into.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know that since um, former President Obama, social media has been used a lot. One of the reasons why he won was because social media again was just beginning to be used, and he learned how to use it for that purpose, and really gain a lot of attention from people who were just beginning to also get into social media, especially for our younger generations that are spending so much time on the phone. That is
Mhm.
so important. This past year, 2025, was the first year that I volunteered as an interpreter. Again, unpaid. I just said, I really want to make a difference. I have the
Mhm.
time. Yes, I want to continue to use my Spanish skills to be able to help my community. And it really was, like you said, it was such a blessing to me. I got to help two older gentlemen who reminded me so much of my dad, who has already passed away.
Mhm.
But had my dad been there, I know that he would have needed that person like me to really help with the whole process of where do I go, what do I do next. And
Mhm.
we had to use a lot of the paper ballots here, because there was a human error, and it
Yeah.
happens. It was a human error. They only printed the books for the people that were registered as
Mhm.
Democrats. People who were registered as something else, their papers, their ballots were not there. So we had to do a lot of those extra ballots, extra paperwork. So I'm glad that I got to help those gentlemen, because it is a long process. It's a longer process than what you normally would go through. And it was
Mhm.
really interesting to have a conversation with them and to talk to them and to see the reasons why they were voting and who they were voting for, and to see, how
Mhm.
much they care for the community, and that's why they took their vote so seriously. And that they go and vote every time that they can, and they see that as a responsibility, as a civic
Mhm.
responsibility, as if you can vote, you have to go and vote. And so this was
Mhm.
from older people, older gentlemen. But I was also glad to see some of the younger generations, younger than me, recent college students that were going there to vote. And I know that that young population we need to hear more from, and we need to see them more out there and voting. So I'm so glad to have young people like you who are, using social media, for these kinds of things, for that civic engagement, and to get our young people more involved in politics and in what's going on in the country, so
Mhm.
that whatever we do will leave a better place for you. Like I've gone through so many things already in my lifetime here, and I know we're going through difficult times, and it's taken me years to learn what I know now. And I'm so glad to have young people like you, Juan Tafoya, who is here from the Kennett community, who's also
Mhm.
just 19, and he is already part of politics and already teaching the young community why it's so important to be so
Mhm.
involved into politics, because we want to make sure that whatever we leave for the future is better than what we have now. So I'm glad that you've had these experiences. I'm glad that you didn't go into accounting or business,
Yeah.
honestly. I'm
Me
sorry that
too.
you try to realize all those things, but I'm glad that all of this worked out.
Yeah, me
I wish
too.
it had been without all of those tears, but
Me too.
again, sometimes we have to talk about those things to make sure that our younger generations, those that are in college now struggling with the same things that you struggle through, to see that you
Mhm.
made it past those things. You're now on the other side, and now you are a young career person, that is doing some really great, wonderful things. It seems
Mhm.
like you have it all figured out, but I'm sure that there are challenges, as you graduated
Oh, yeah.
from college to now being in a career. Tell us one or two of those biggest challenges that you've had to go through from graduating from college to then now being in a career.
Oh, definitely. I'm so glad you brought this up. So I am trying to, I've been in the same like role, same town, as I said, for about 3 years now. So I was really trying to decide what's next. So I had applied for a fellowship. It was a public policy fellowship through the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, which is an organization that I really admire.
Hmm.
So I applied for this fellowship, and I was really banking on getting in, and that was like really my next step. Like, I'm going to move to DC, I'm going to do this full time. And then I started applying, I think, in August, and then I was able to submit everything in November. I finally heard back on Monday. I didn't get in, so I was like, okay, nice. After like, I was really
Funny,
banking on that, so I was,
funny.
yeah, so I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, rejections, redirection, I'm going to figure something else out. But um I mean, what's today? Today's Thursday. So I've had a few days to like sit on it, but at the time it was very like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Like, full transparency, I have a psychic that I see when I feel like I'm going through a crisis, I called her immediately and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life now. I need to figure this out. And she really, like talked me off a ledge. Just like, you have all these other things going for you. Like that just means another opportunity is going to open, which,
Mhm. Takes a
yes,
while. It
very
takes
yes,
a
but it's a
while to
lot.
like really, really
Yeah.
accept it. Like, okay, so this door has closed. When is the next
Mhm.
one going to open? Can you send
Yeah.
me some signs, please? Where is
Yes,
that door?
exactly. Yeah. And at the time, and I still do think that would have been a great opportunity, but it was perfect because there's a timeline. Like, you would start on this day, it would end on this day. It buys you some time. Like, you're definitely going to be in the city, so you have to move by like this day. Like, I just loved that everything was figured out for me. And now I'm realizing like I'm gonna have to be an adult if I want to move or find a new opportunity. I'm gonna have to seek that out like everyone else does. So that's been interesting. That's like a kind of a setback because I was like really looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
um, I
Well,
think
I do
in
have connections, so I'll
thank you.
contact my people to contact your people. So,
Thank you. Yeah. But I mean, in my life, like this has happened. It's happened in high school. There was a scholarship that I was so certain that I would get and I was really banking on, didn't get it. It went to someone that I thought didn't really deserve it, but so it goes. And then same thing happened in college. There was like a leadership position I applied for, didn't get that.
mhm.
And it all went on. It all worked out in the end. And you know, it's really comforting to know that like this has happened before. I've gotten through it before. Something else will happen. And I really do believe in like divine intervention. There's a plan out there for you. There's something bigger. Like there is a reason that didn't happen for me. So I'm really excited to see what's next. But at the same time, it is kind of hard because now I'm like, well,
If
no,
we all had an 8 ball, wouldn't that be so nice? But none of us
yes,
do. Like
yes,
really, none of us do. Believe me.
yeah,
I spent 4 years in one college and was like, all right, this is it, time to move on. And it takes a while before you find your next, place in the world.
yeah,
And then I spent 4 years at another college, and then I was like, all right. And there was a period where I really felt like really, really stuck, and I was like, oh, like really, like this is not what I want to continue to do for the rest of my life. And I
yeah,
didn't. Eventually, it came, and eventually, I was able to move on.
yeah.
And so none of us have that 8 ball to know where we're going to be in the next year, in the next 5 years. And as much as we
Mhm.
plan, like we sometimes take that list and we say, okay, so I don't want to do this, I want to do that. These are my
Mhm.
pros, these are my cons. Like this is my plan. Like you plan as much as you can, but you always have to leave that, room of opportunities open because you have no
Yeah,
idea. I had no idea this is where I would be, years from now doing a
yeah.
podcast, taking that leap and
Mhm.
like really being okay with being in front of a camera and doing recording and posting
Yeah,
on YouTube and letting people know, hey, like this is important information that I think people need to hear both on the parent side and on the student side. And here I am because again, I don't have an 8 ball. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know what, I kind of know what tomorrow holds, but I don't know in the next year, 5 years, 20, I don't know, so just kind of leave it to whatever it is that's going to be out there,
Exactly,
whatever is meant for me, and whatever brings me joy and happiness. That's what I'm going to
exactly.
be doing for sure. That's the
Yeah,
only thing that I know for certain. I'll be doing
yeah.
stuff that I enjoy.
Mhm.
Anything else that you want to tell us about um,
Sure.
Victor's? I think we're just about done, but tell us a little more
Yeah.
about what you do now.
Yeah, so I for work I work full time at Community Volunteers in Medicine (CVIM), which is a healthcare nonprofit based in Chester County. So my top like the pictures that are on the right are from that role, and they're both from with interns. So I'm very lucky that in my role I get to supervise interns every semester. Sometimes I just have right now I have one, but over the summer I had three at a time, which is just so much fun, and it is so much fun because most of the times we're actually the same age, which is kind of silly that I'm like the one who's supervising them, but it's so rewarding, and I love like working with students and getting to like hear about them. It's just so inspiring, and I feel like I learn more from them than they probably learned from me. But it's such a fantastic organization, and that's where I really get to speak with Spanish speaking individuals all the time, which has been really cool because it also taught me different types of Spanish. We have a bunch of different patients from different countries. So I've gotten to learn a lot of Spanish in that way. And it is so fun because it's a volunteer based organization. So everyone who is there wants to be there, and you can really feel that energy. It is such a magical place. And I always think, like, in my dream world, like, this is what the world would look like. Like, it's a healthcare home, is what we call it. So you can get your dental, medical, behavioral health, social service, like all of your needs are met under one roof. And, you know, there in a pharmacy there, like in my dream world, like that's just the healthcare that everyone would have, comprehensive, very
Yes.
holistic approach. So I'm
Yeah.
very proud to work there. And then I work part-time with State Senator Carolyn Comita, who's in the bottom right corner. She's
Mhm.
lovely. And
Mhm.
that is I work in that role in a part-time capacity, and both roles are very community oriented. So we go out in the community a lot, which I am very thankful for, because I've lived in this area for most of my life, but I still feel like there's parts of Chester County that I learn about every single day. It's such a big county, and I'm really glad that both jobs really emphasize the people that we serve and the communities that we serve, and we go to them. One of my favorite things that I do for Senator Comita is I will go to the Oxford Library once a month just to be there, have a presence there,
Mhm.
because she represents Oxford, but her office is in Westchester and she has an office in Harrisburg. So that might not be close to her constituents there, but we really go to them and make an effort, which I really love.
Mhm.
And then for work, I also am still doing content creation in a freelance capacity on TikTok. So right now, like the big thing that I'm doing there is political campaigns for the midterm elections, but I also work with different brands. Like right now, I'm working with Planet Fitness, the gym, which is very random, but it's a gym that I use. So I love that I get to go and work out and make content for them, make a little bit of money on the side for that. And it's not something that I get to do as often as I used to now that I am working two jobs, but it's really fun. It's a fun way to make money on the side. And it's also just fun to create stuff and get to have a creative outlet in that way. So I'm
Mhm.
very lucky. When you graduate college, you just hope that you find a job that you like. And I've somehow found three jobs that I like. So I feel very lucky.
Awesome. Well, make sure to share your TikTok account again so that we can continue to make sure that our youth get to see how much important work you're doing and why it's so important for us to get our youth to go out and vote. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll
Would
make
love
sure
that.
to do that. Yep. Yeah. And you are still very busy.
Oh, yeah. And then I
I'll have
volunteer.
time for all of these other things.
Yeah. I volunteer with an organization called Petals Please. They're a fantastic nonprofit based in Downingtown, but they take floral arrangements from funerals and weddings, and a lot of these flowers just get thrown away at the end of their events. So
Mhm.
they repurpose them and they donate these bouquets to nursing homes, hospitals, schools, really anywhere that could use them, and like random acts of kindness. So I have volunteered in the past making the arrangements, but I don't have as much time to do that anymore. So I've also done like deliveries, just dropping them off different places. But now the main thing that I do for them is I manage their social media accounts, which I really enjoy doing. And I love that, like, I'll
Wonderful.
just get like 20 pictures of flowers like in a day and I just have to post them. So it's really nice that I can do it like in my own time, but it's also something that I enjoy doing. I'm on my phone anyway, so I should do some good
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
Take it to nursing homes. That's awesome.
Yeah,
They get recycled and they give somebody a nice smile from
yeah.
receiving flowers. That's amazing. That's
It's wonderful. And
yeah.
they are a very sustainable organization. Like instead of vases, they use cans. So these cans are like painted and repurposed. Like they really think of everything.
Recycle.
Yeah,
Recycle.
they're really, really good. Even the
All right.
clippings of flowers.
I'll be
Like,
bringing in my cans then because I'm
oh
like I
yeah.
recycle all that stuff and it's like just sitting
Yeah.
there. So how do I know where to take it?
No, they're really, really wonderful.
Mhm.
And then I also, since high school, I've been an active donor with the Red Cross.
Mhm.
So I just donated on Monday. So that was my 17th pint. So I have now donated over 2 gallons of blood in my lifetime, which I'm very proud of. If you're able to, I think everyone should. It's such a great way to give back, and there's a lot of health benefits, like personally, from doing that.
Mhm.
So I just really love that I can also do that, like in my own time whenever I'm available. And
Mhm.
then I also serve on the advisory board for MCHC, where I was once an intern, which is super full circle. I don't think I mentioned this, but my mom was actually a program participant of theirs when she was pregnant with me. So they
Oh,
really have been there for me since the
yeah,
start. I
full
love,
circle, full circle, full circle.
yeah, I love that I get to give back to them in that way, because they're really such a wonderful organization. They do amazing work, and I
Mhm.
I work for a nonprofit. I volunteer with nonprofits. I love nonprofits, and any way that I can support them, I'm happy to.
Mhm. All right. Well, I think that's all the pictures that we have from all of these slides.
Yes.
You really are continuing to keep yourself busy. So, don't get tired, please. Once you get to 40, that's when things really start. So you've got plenty of time to continue to do the things that you do, and to continue to help the community through work, through being a volunteer. So please continue to do the things that you do. We will make sure to follow you and follow and see what you're doing, what you're
Yeah.
up to, and how you can continue to help the community through social media. It really is, in many ways bad, but in also many ways it's good because again, you are that positive voice, for our young people in the community that says why it's so important, for people to go out, for people to get involved, for people to, you don't have to have a lot of money, but as long as you have free time and if you have,
Mm.
whether you have your own transportation or somebody that you can group together with, donate your time. We have, sometimes people are bored. Go and do something where you're helping the community, and that's what you're showing us here. You're keeping yourself busy, and that really is an amazing thing to do. I'm one of those people too. I can't sit for too long because I get
Me
bored.
too.
Yeah, it comes from my mom. My mom is always on the move, and so I have to always be on the move. And if I'm not on the move, it's because I'm really exhausted because I've overdone it because I'm
Yeah.
busy. I want to make sure that, my time here in this world and when I leave when I'm 90, I would have lived it completely and fully and have left it a better place for those that come after me. So
Yeah.
you're one of
Absolutely.
mine. You're one of mine. So I'll make sure to connect my people with your people for other future opportunities if you need them. That doesn't mean that you
Yes.
have to take them, it just means if the time is right. So we'll make sure that you send me some of the links. We'll look you up. I know I can find you on LinkedIn. I'm sure I can find you on TikTok. But if there's anything else that you would like to have us connect and put in our content, I will make sure to do so. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's late for us. It's been a long day for you with work and then this. It was a long day for me, plus meetings and this, but it's such an important message that I want to continue to pass along to those that are currently middle school, high school parents, current college students, recent college graduates. It's possible. You just
Mhm.
have to, take that risk and continue to do what you love. There may be tears. Yes, there will be
Yeah.
tears sometimes, but it's possible. Sometimes you just have to let it go, cleanse, and move on to the next, because time does not wait. Time continues, and we have to do what we are meant to do in this life. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time. I will make sure to send you the link once it's ready for Saturday.
Mhm.
And para todos los demás, have a good night, have a good day, have a good evening, depending on what time it is that you're watching us. I will make sure that at some point I come back and that I do a little bit of a review in Spanish. But this is what we do. We share in the language that we feel more comfortable in, and the message will get out there. And even if it's a little bit from the pictures that people pick up, I'm sure that they'll learn something. So thank you again, and have a great night.